Not all those who wander are lost. J.R. Tolkien. Welcome to Aegis Travel Adventures. We are Ken.
And Giselle. We have been to over 100 countries and are still looking to see what is around the next corner. We love wine,
Travel and adventure. Listen to our podcast where we share the fun of the magical places, people, and cultures that have touched our lives.
Aegis,
Aegis,
travel,
travel,
adventures.
adventure.
This is Ageless Travel Adventures. Welcome. This is podcast number 27, and this is Ken.
and this is Giselle.
Today we'd like to talk to you about our recent cruise in Southeast Asia on the Regent Navigator.
It's Regent is an upscale cruise line. It's all inclusive. So what that means is that when you pay your fee, it includes your tips, your gratuities. I guess tips and gratuities are the same thing. Your shore excursions, most all of your shore excursions. There are a few that you can take, but most all of them they're included, and they're more expansive than say Viking, where it's just you drive around. These are legit shore excursions, so that's a real nice.
Includes specialty restaurants and all the alcoholic beverages. Although I did find I was upstairs in the evening and I saw some dollar signs and numbers by a couple liqueurs, and they do charge extra for a few very high-end liquors. But other than that, everything was free. The wines at dinner, we can talk about that in a minute because we can do some comparative shopping with some of our other high-end cruises we've done. So, but all inclusive, and we didn't have to pay anything.
Yeah, we enjoyed it.
Yeah.
On the Regent cruise line, this cruise, the Navigator, this ship is the oldest of their ships, and actually it was entered into service in 1999, which makes it a pretty darn old ship. But they did a total refurb in 2006.
Yeah.
So it still needs it's funny about this. We meet some people that have been on Regent Cruise, and the only ship they want to go on is the Navigator. They love the smallness, the quaintness. In fact, the cruise director, we think he's probably the original cruise director. He is an older gentleman and runs it like a fine oiled machine, if you will. So, but it's just a smaller ship. It's got you can tell it's dated. That's probably the best way to put it. We had a really nice room, and our room was the largest room that we've ever had on a cruise
It's an
ship.
all suites ship, and there are different size suites, but this was the largest room berth we've ever had, and it had a shower and a bathtub, and surprisingly, a walk-in closet.
And it was, and so those little things made it really nice. It was a how many day cruise was it?
14 days.
14-day cruise. We went from Bali to Bangkok.
Yep.
So we had lots of stops, and we enjoyed all of that. But like I said, I will say the staff, for the most part, our room stewards were one of the best room stewards we've ever had. We had two women who were just delightful, and they were they did that. I think some of the wait staffs and the wait restaurants were always really attentive and good. I think their weak spot was their shore excursion desk people and the front desk. I think that their English is not as good fluent as it should be in those positions, but overall,
our opinion, but
that's
yes.
just our opinion. But overall, there was nothing that we needed that wasn't attended to, that kind of a thing.
One thing they did have, they had a desk sitting in the lobby area, and it was concierge.
Yes,
And whereas most cruise ships, you go to the front desk and you ask your questions of the general staff. They don't have a separate concierge. They almost always have a separate desk for excursions.
Yeah, so anyway, so that was, we enjoyed, that we will say that. And like I said, breakfast, the other thing that this ship has, and I think it may be all of Regent, there is more of a dress code. At dinner, men are to wear a collared shirt. It could be short sleeve or long sleeve, it doesn't matter, but they have to wear pants. And women have to wear nicer stuff. You can't show up with shorts to the dining room or blue jeans. And there is a buffet during the day upstairs, but at night there's no buffet. So that turns into an Italian restaurant. So if you want to go on a cruise and you don't want to go to a sit-down restaurant, you really don't have a whole lot of options except the room service. And we ordered room service a couple times, and it was really nice. I mean, it was the full menu. So that's one thing to consider when you're looking at a Regent cruise.
But you got to eat in your room, and it's kind of limited space, but it,
If you don't feel like getting dressed up, we
Yeah.
were traveling with some friends, and they didn't want to spend the 2 hours at dinner that it takes, and so they said, you know what, we're just going to order a grilled cheese and sit in the room and watch TV. They had a really good TVs, and they had pretty good movies. And like I said, it was nice that you didn't have to nickel and dime, and you didn't have to tip. So that's one thing I will say that I really enjoyed about that. I'd rather pay a little more money up front. Than having to, when you go to a bar, tip the server, tip the bartender. Doesn't mean we don't tip. We didn't tip a few things here and there, because at the end we had a couple servers and a couple of bartenders that were really nice and remembered what you drank and those kinds of things. So, and then we enjoyed the ship. So, what did you think, Ken?
One thing about the buffet is, yeah, it was a buffet, but in the morning, for instance, when you walk in, there's a breakfast chef, sous chef, grill master in an area, and you can go right or left, and you just tell them how you want your eggs or your omelet or whatever, and they deliver it to your table.
Yes,
So-
there's no queuing up for the omelet line, which is great.
Yeah, and you could see some people that weren't as mobile as others, and they would ask them to get things, and they did, and they brought you orange juice, and I mean, yes, it's a buffet, but yeah, there was always some things that you could order and they would bring to you, or if you ask them, they'd go get it. So I would call it a buffet plus.
Right, and you're absolutely right. Again, there was mornings like today is pancake day, and so you would sit down and then you would order pancakes. So not everything that you ordered for the buffet. The buffet had the basics, had your cheeses, your salads, your basic, and then there's
Smoked salmon.
They did have smoked salmon, and the quality of food. I really thought it was very good. It was, you could tell it was quality. You didn't feel like you were eating yesterday's leftovers, which is sometimes it happens on cruises.
Yeah. So they did have sit-down restaurants at night, and you had to get reservations at one of them. And that was the Italian,
Yeah.
and it was smallish, and we went a couple times. Back before COVID, we were on Norwegian Cruise Line ships a couple of times, handful of times. We're platinum level or whatever, and they had put in a specialty restaurant called Cagney's, and it's a steakhouse. And my brother-in-law and my sister were with us a couple of times, and we all like steak, good steak. And we were wowed by this restaurant. I mean, the quality was really over the top. Since COVID, we've been on a couple of Norwegian cruise line ships, and Cagney's is not anywhere near as good as it used to be. Don't ask me why. And Regent's steaks were good, but they weren't great. They weren't up to the Cagney's level.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, and they had lobster. You could order lobster every night. I mean, they had a pretty good selection of high-end seafood. So the food overall was good. Now, I said we'd do some comparison, and we've been on some Viking ships, ocean, river, and expedition. They have very knowledgeable wine sommeliers. I would say this ship, not so much, and their selection of wines, if you didn't want what was being served with a meal, you could ask for something different, and they would get it. But I mean, it wasn't like you.
They didn't give you a choice for dinner.
Yeah.
It'd be like, we have a red or a white. I'm like, okay, well, what kind of whites do you have? And for the most part, the staff, again, they're trying to be very accommodating, but they have the, like I'm going past their skill level kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you have to, there was a couple of them that once we kind of got to know, they would know that, of course it's me asking, you know, like, is that a Sauvignon Blanc or a Chardonnay or what do you got? And they would, there was more wines available, but they don't make it very readily, and they don't give you a wine list. Like these are you have to ask for the wine list.
Kind of got to dig around.
Yeah,
And,
and so that's to me was one of the fallacies in
it's
the
a little
ship.
disappointing. And on Viking, you get free beer and wine with lunch and dinner. But if you want to drink better wine or you want to drink other things during the day, they charge $25 a day per person for the upgrade, so to speak. It's not a lot of money compared to,
What you
beverage.
get.
For what you get in beverage packages, and they have a very fantastic selection of really good wines. So
They're regional.
yeah, and a lot of regional stuff, particularly the river cruise. Obviously, the Antarctica trip we had, there's no vineyards down there, but they did have some really nice Argentine and Chilean wines.
And now on the Regent, there was a few evening events.
Yeah.
I don't really remember. What were they? I don't think they were that memorable.
I mean, shows and
Yeah.
that? Yeah, they had a magician one night we skipped. And,
Oh, yeah.
But they had, I would say their house band was talented, and the dancers.
Yeah.
And they did some Broadway and some shows.
Yeah.
And I think it was pretty good overall.
Oh, that's right. There was one, and they did a Broadway. Excuse me. They did a Broadway melody, and I think that they did
Medley.
Yeah, of all different. And I think that was, to me, that I enjoyed the most, because you really got to see the talent of these kids, and one of them was just phenomenal. It just took out, and so they're really sweet performers, and they're just very, when you get to chat with them,
And they're accessible on the ship, and other times we talked to them, and they actually did other things than just be entertainers. Surprisingly, you'd be getting off the ship and
There they are greeting. I mean, I think they had to do a bunch of stuff. And then we ended up playing trivia every day, which was kind of fun. We ended up with a core group of people, and we won most of the time. I don't know if we won all, but but it was fun. We met a nice British couple that with the friends of us. There were 6 of us, and so we had a good time.
Yeah.
And and then the reason I brought up the trivia was at the end we got better. I thought the prizes for the trivia at the end were better than what I've seen. I mean, when I say better, you get a T-shirt, a mug, but they're a little more high quality than what we've gotten before.
a golf
You get
shirt.
You get a and they didn't care. It was funny when you went in, you had so many points, and they're like, just get what you want. We're trying to, they could care less.
And it was the entertainers that ran
yeah,
that and
by
handed
then
over.
we had gotten to know them, so they were like, whatever. So we enjoyed that.
Yeah.
The stops on the ship were I thought they were pretty good. We went to a bunch of places.
Ho Chi Minh City, which is the old Saigon, we actually, because of the size of the ship being small, we were able to go up the river and dock in downtown Ho Chi Minh City.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, and that's, most ships can't do that. Then you have quite a shuttle drive to get into the city. So that was nice. And in Singapore, we'd been there before. They're actually building a much bigger cruise port further out, but they have one that's for the bigger ships now, and I think there was 2 or 3 of them up there.
Yeah.
And they were out, and it was a little bit further away. Ours was very much inner harbor. I mean, probably the old harbor, and because we were a smaller ship, and we pulled in. There was another smaller ship next to us.
Yes.
So that's a plus with the ship, and we had a tender a couple of times, and
Their tender process was extremely smooth, whether because it was a little bit of a smaller ship. I don't know, how many people does it hold?
and the only negative I would say is with the tender, we did a tender in Cambodia, and it was kind of a cool city because they had that bridge running across, and they
Yeah.
had a casino on
Right,
the
yeah.
island opposite, and
Right,
the big
yes.
Ferris wheel, and so we were between the island and the mainland, but it was rough. And going in on the shuttle, I mean the navigator, the big boat, it was rocking and rolling pretty good. So I give the crew credit. They got the tenders up there, and they got us in pretty quick and got us away from the ship because it was moving. And I think other bigger ships probably would have not done tender at all that day.
Yeah.
And the nice thing was it went smoothly because it's a smaller ship. There's not so many guests.
Yeah. The ship itself holds 496 people, and I think ours was pretty full. I think it was.
Yeah,
I think it was.
yeah.
It was pretty full.
There was a
and,
Steve Forbes convention or
Convention.
whatever of his followers from Forbes
Financial,
magazine,
I guess.
financial gurus, and one of the guys that I followed with stocks, Mark Skousen, and his wife were there, and they joined us for trivia one day, and they actually have a house in Winter Park, although they don't live there year round at this point. But so there were some people from that group we knew, but they were like sequestered in their meetings, every day. And I don't know how many there were exactly,
Yeah, I don't
But-
know. And there, yeah, like I said, it was easy. It was a nice ship to get around. It was easy. They had things like in the before dinner, they had drinks with cocktails, and like I said, it's a smaller ship, so some things didn't translate quite well, but they have all the things that you would expect on a ship. They had a spa, which we didn't use, but they had some gift shops, and then they also they offer if they have an AA meetings, if you want all that. So it offers everything that a big ship normally does. So we enjoy the Regent cruise. I think we're still Team Viking, as the saying goes.
I think, yeah, at this point,
We would like to maybe try another Regent. I'd like to try a newer Regent
Well-
because people on the ship this is based on what other people have said. They said this isn't what Regent really is. They said this is nice, it's cute, it's quaint, but if you have to go on a newer Regent to get the full quote Regent experience, so we're contemplating doing that.
So
Anyway,
a little more comparison. So we did a Windstar cruise several years ago, Barcelona to the Rome port, and there was 220 people on a boat. I mean, that was it, and it was small, and there was 2 slot machines in the entertainment area. I mean, it was literally a guitar player and a singer couple. That was the entertainment, and the crew did a couple crew nights entertainment. I said, Filipino Elvises. You kind of, after you've heard 2 of them, that's enough. But the ship had an open deck seafood night it was amazing. We got off in the port of Elba. Same thing, we got to go right up in the harbor because the ship's so small where all the yachts are, the Mediterranean yachts, and get off the ship. And we came back after the day, and there's the captain standing by the ship. He's in shorts and a t-shirt, and not his captain outfit. And he goes, yeah, he says, I needed to go and get a cheeseburger here in one of my favorite restaurants. He laughed. He said, I didn't want him to see me in my captain's outfit. So, and the Viking ocean ship has a capacity of 960 guests. So it's bigger, but Viking, I would say, is a little bit older clientele. And when we get to ports and that, I'd say a fair amount of people never got off the ship.
yeah.
And
that's
so
true.
it never felt crowded. And the Viking, the elevators, you'd go to get on them and push the button, they're right there.
Yeah.
It was never crowded or anything. So the way they laid out the ship for the size was wonderful. So there's 3 high-end we've talked about: Windstar, Regent, and Viking. They all have something to offer with their size. And while the suite we had on Windstar was nice, it was smaller and it was an older ship as well. But I think the food was better.
Yeah, it was food. Yeah, it was
But,
definitely. Yeah,
but it
I
wasn't
think
all inclusive. We had to buy our drinks and so on.
That's true.
And so I think, like Giselle said, we're kind of leaning towards Viking as our go-to high end,
But we're also
But we're willing to-
itinerary driven.
Yeah.
So that's why we did this cruise, and because our friends were doing it, and it was Bali to Bangkok, just because it's fun to say. We went to Bali to Bangkok, but we had a good time, and like I said, trivia, we enjoyed it. That was kind of, I think, the highlight of the show. The pool was nice. Did we ever go? I don't think I ever went to the pool. I don't think.
Yeah. Well, we just sat out there.
Yeah,
one day, but
right.
We didn't get in the pool.
Yeah, so that's right, because it was a little bit chilly still, and during the weather. So anyway, that's our take on Viking.
Regent.
On Regent, I'm sorry. And then okay, my tip of the day is regarding Regent. Now, whether you book your cruise on your own, or if you like us, we use a cruise agent. I will say what she brought to the table for this cruise, besides helping us to get the deal that we wanted, was her knowledge of the location of where we need to be on this ship. And the more we cruise, the more I'm beginning to realize, as the saying goes, location, location, location.
We said, go ahead and book what you think is the best berth, and she did, and it was great
because
location.
you want something for us. We want something in the middle of thing. I don't mind it being. It doesn't have to be near an elevator or anything like that. But I want to avoid the rocking of the ship and things like that. So my tip of the day is, whether you're doing it yourself or you are using an agent, spend some time looking at the location of where you want to be, and then if you don't have a cruise agent, what you can do is look on Cruise Critic. There's a lot of what room should I have on the ship? Google it. There's going to be some websites that are going to help you out, that'll help you determine where you want to be and what's going to be the most, to avoid the turbulence or the rocking and the rolling kind of thing.
And another point is, when you go to book, like let's say you book a balcony, and ocean view balcony, whatever level you book, usually there's a class of balcony that's a little cheaper, and it may be partially obstructed, so you don't see as much. Could be a lifeboat or something, but the cheapest one of each of the categories is usually what I call run of the house, and what they tell you is, yep, you'll get this price, and it's the cheapest, but we're going to give you the cabin or the berth.
Right.
We're going to pick it for you. And I can say, for whatever money you save, unless you really want to go for that lower price, you're subjecting yourself to one of the worst cabins on the ship.
Yeah.
I would probably pass on that. And that's my tip of the day is, go ahead and look at it, but just be careful. You may think you're saving some money, but ultimately the deal may not be so good.
So that's our take on Regent. If you have any questions or comments, we would love to hear from you. And again, this is Asia's Travel Adventure. This is Giselle.
Ken, and have a great day.
See, Aegis,
8 hours.
travel,
7.
adventures.
Adventure.